Welcome into your Wednesday edition of Dropping Dimes. I hope you guys are liking that new logo. That's thanks to Luke Skinner out of the UK. Thank you, Luke. Does amazing work. I recommend him. And I can put out his information if you guys want to hit him up to do some logo work for you. The man is the best. But this week on today's show, I've got John Flannigan on, and there's a million things to talk about. You know, the games last night, the teams potentially talking about boycotting a game. Nate McMillan was fired today. But where I'd like to start is, you as a Clippers fan, point blank, did Marcus Morris intentionally step on Luka's ankle?
No. Are you kidding me?
I
know he has a questionable character flaws or whatever, but no. And I also want to go back to, I think it was the first, I don't know when it was, the trade deadline episode I came on. And I said, whoever gets Markieff Morris, that's the X factor. That's who's going to go all the way.
Well, you mean Marcus? The Lakers got Markieff.
Yes, I'm talking Markieff because I was over Laking, had the late games blow, and he was balling 2 days ago, not yesterday. But also Marcus Morris, no, he did not step on his ankle.
I see.
On purpose, he did it.
The thing is, okay, so the overhead shot, it looks like, okay, maybe he did, but then they have the tracking angle from the side, and I'll be damned if it doesn't look like he is running up specifically to step on his ankle from that angle. And the problem with Mark is it's much like Zaza. He's got too much history now for me to, extend the olive branch and say, this probably was unintentional after he, spiked the ball in preseason on what was a Wizard Justin Anderson's face.
Yeah.
And he kneed Ben Simmons in the back of the head after he intentionally wrestled him to the ground. Was he the one that threw Davis Bertans to the ground, or was that Markieff? I think it was. Was that Markieff? I thought it was Marcus.
So, either way, okay. So with all these people, there's some people who are notorious for being shady, dirty players, or just trying to get any edge. But there are some who they do that, but they never have intention of injuring, which I think most people don't. So even if he was intended to try to do something, made a bad choice, he clearly wasn't going to wanted to hurt the person.
Even though he's going after his left ankle, which he was questionable, he's got a bad ankle from having sprained it, and he just happens to step on his left foot in a very awkward run up to play defense on the inbound. I don't know. It really does.
First of all, when you're tired,
theorists are right.
When you're tired, the first thing that goes is your mental. So when you get fatigued, you don't think, or you make bonehead plays, bonehead moves. Maybe it's something to do with that. Maybe, some of these people are just not as coordinated. We've all played that person who is 100% energy, but then lacks coordination. And it's like, dude, you need to settle down kind of player.
Okay. Sure. Yes. 100%. But at the same time, those uncoordinated individuals you're talking about we played with aren't 10-year NBA vets which means they are pinnacle athletes, even if they're not superstars. They're still pinnacle athletes. Now, the mental lapse, perhaps, but they were up by 20 points or more for the bulk of that game. So it's not like he was so mentally taxed that it could have slipped. If it was a close game, like a 2-point game or something, yeah, I'd buy into that argument.
But that also that helps his defense of why would I do that on purpose when we're already going to win this game?
Because he's a punk. That's why. That's precisely why.
There was a very chippy game, for sure.
It was. It's exceedingly chippy. Yeah. I understood it from the Mavs perspective, but the Clippers, it's like, you're up by, it was 24 practically for the bulk of the game. They end up winning by 43? Just an obscene amount.
And you know what, as a Clipper fan, and I mean, this is just my personality when I play, when I watch, I hate, I want Porzingis, I want Luka to be at full strength because I want to beat them, our best versus your best. I hate it when this happens, when there's injuries, and it's the worst.
Yeah,
especially in playoffs.
Pat Bev isn't back, and Paul George finally showed up.
Yeah, but it's so funny because you can see the difference between a Paul George and versus a Kawhi or a Luka player, and it's there's just a whole nother level where it's like those two can just do whatever they want as they please. And Paul, it takes takes effort. You know, he has to use his skills, his fundamentals to make stuff happen. Where they just are another level.
Well, I mean, watching that game last night, it was. I mean, it's not like the Mavs are known for their defense.
Yeah,
and that's fine. And their offense can score. Historically, the greatest offense in regular season history, I believe. But I mean, the Clippers last night shot 62 and change percentage wise from three, which is just obscene. If you take Kawhi out of free throws, everybody shot 80% or better, I believe, from free throw. Kawhi struggled from the line. I think he went 6 for 11, missed 5. And then from the floor, they were still in the upper 50s or low 60s again. Like they shot so incredibly well. There's not a whole lot that you can do as a Mavs fan.
Yeah, no, I mean, and Luka shot bad from the line as well, or not great. I mean, he hasn't not shooting great from free throw line this whole series. But it's, I mean, you're missing. We came out, we're mad already because of how the previous game ended. So they're coming out with a chip on the shoulder, wanting to prove something. And then Luka's at 50, 60% health wise. There's no Porzingis. I mean, there was never a chance.
Yeah, not really. And it'll be interesting to see if Porzingis comes back for the next game. They really need him to stay alive here. They got away with it for one game, but last night it was exposed because if you're not going to get, a super efficient 25 points from Trey Burke and then Seth Curry lighting it up and Boban having a very good Boban game, it's like if you don't have everything else happening as evidenced by last night, then it's not in the cards. You're not going to win the game.
I mean, and I don't think they should have won the previous game. They should have. I don't know if they should have won maybe game 2. That was it. But
I don't know. Game 1, if Porzingis doesn't get tossed, Dallas has a damn good shot of winning that, and they'd be up 2-0. And then you take, what was it? Game 4's result when Luka wins on a last second shot. And this series could be 3-1.
Ridiculous. First of all, why is Reggie Jackson guarding him? He's the smallest player on the court, and he doesn't have enough. As soon as he makes one dribble, he doesn't have enough time to go to the hole. So just put somebody big on him.
Yeah.
So he can't shoot over you. So annoying.
I know. Trust me, watching it, you have Kawhi. Why in the world Kawhi is not glued to Luka? There is no Kristaps. So yes, you have other shooters out there, but Luka, is the first, second, and third option. So Kawhi just needs to be glued to his hip. And if not him, Paul George, although Paul George has a knack for getting game-winning shots just thrown right in his face. So maybe not PG. Put Kawhi on. I mean, shit, look what Kawhi did. You see that end of first half where he stole the ball from Boban?
Yeah.
Oh, just straight claws it and then takes it down, and Reggie Jackson turns the ball over to close it out. And the best is I hadn't noticed, and someone posted the clip of Kawhi walking off the court. Did you see that?
No.
It turns to Reggie Jackson. He's like, in essence, I didn't steal the ball for you to just throw it away. You're like, yeah.
I mean, was that still? I think it got chalked up as a block, but I'd call it a block. But yeah.
Really? I mean, he wasn't shooting it. He was trying to wing the ball around. That was a straight steal.
Was that you're not talking about where he got fouled, gathered it, and then went up again? That's when Kawhi came around and kind of pulled it out of his hand.
No, it was at the end of the first half. It was at the top of the key, and he was like going around the pass, and Kawhi jumps up with just one hand and grabs it out of the air, and then starts running down on the fast break and kicks it over to Reggie on the left wing, and then Reggie pump fakes from 3 and runs in, and then just bobbles the ball and throws it out of bounds, and it was in essence into half at that point. I hadn't seen it in real time, and then afterwards someone had that as a clip and put it up, and I was like, oh wow, that's fucking great. But you guys are easily turning into the villains of these playoffs,
which seems to happen with Doc Rivers teams. I don't know why, and then the Clippers as well. But I don't know. It does. It's not. It doesn't. The playoffs don't start till it's Lakers Clippers.
Let's see if you make it there. The Lakers up right now. They can close out the series, and Dame is not going to play in Game 5. Yeah, so it's done at this point.
I was thinking
unfortunately.
Luka should have just been benched after for the second half last game. It's ridiculous. Hobbling
When you
around for nothing.
yeah, exactly. When they're basically maintaining a 22 to 24 point lead at all times, no matter the heroics that you're doing,
Yeah.
get them off the court because you're not going to win this game. You're not going to come back. Yeah, perhaps, although Carlisle was tossed at that point. So it's an assistant coach at that, making the decision. So perhaps he didn't want to throw in the towel that quickly because, I don't know, wanted to prove his mettle as being a playoff
I mean,
coach
I
or
don't think
something.
Luka would have done it, and I think he should just sit this next game too. It's done. It's done. Porzingis is hurt. Luka's hurt. Like, what are you gonna fight for at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it just comes down to how good they feel come game time. But considering it's every other day right now, there's not a lot of rest and recuperation time.
He just looks so bad. Like, it was hard to watch going from the game 3 to game 4. Is like watching Luka's like this. It was hard to watch. It's like, this is terrible. Like, he's not nearly himself. Like, he was unbelievable the previous game. And he could barely jump, could barely get the ball up. It was terrible. I hated watching it, honestly.
Well, that previous game was one of the best playoff performances from any player in the history of the game. It was just ridiculous triple-double.
I texted you at the end of the game saying he's 3 years, he will be MVP based on that game. I mean, if he plays like that, he's unbelievable.
I mean, basically, I texted back saying, that's not that shocking a take. I mean, at 21.
I've told other people, my friend Josh, I told him, he was like, I don't see how he's going to improve that much. He doesn't play D. He's not fast. He can't dribble. And like basically comparing him to like James Harden or all these other people who's like, they have all these other skills as well as what Luka does. But I'm saying that's the argument for him because he doesn't need, he's slower than them. He can't shoot threes as well as them. He can't dribble as well as them. He's not as physically fit as them, but he's still doing what they do. So imagine if he got in a little bit better shape. Imagine he gets a little bit quicker. Imagine if he's going to shoot better threes. He's going to shoot better free throws. He's going to be unstoppable. It's crazy.
He's the first superstar where I watching him can go, I could play that game, even though I can't. Even though there's, he's still otherworldly talented. It's quick old man game is what I call it. He's got all these little basically it's Andre Miller's game on steroids.
Yeah.
You're not blown away by the playmaking or the athletic ability. It's just he knows when to get the defender on his hip and read the defense as he's kind of patrolling the lane and whatnot. And he can snake in for these up and under little layups, left and right. He finishes well. That thankfully, if the step back wasn't allowed, I wonder how effective he truly would be because, that gives him the extra space when he doesn't have the.
That wasn't a travel though. I mean, sometimes there are travels, these step back, especially like the James Hardens. But the one with the game winner, that wasn't a travel at all. Yeah, he was still dribbling when he started to step
exactly,
back.
And that is a true gather step, as opposed to I have stopped, planted my pivot foot, and now I am jumping to my left 5 feet. And you're like, how is that not a travel? I don't understand. Yeah,
I would argue Kawhi is kind of similar in the way where it's not a fancy, it's not over athletic, it's just fundamentals and smart and his physical ability. They're very both similar. They're not going to get a lot of highlights, but they're going to get a lot of wins.
Yeah, I think we'll be able to count on 2 hands the number of dunks we watched Luka do over the course of his career.
And he's 6'8", right? I mean,
he's tall, but it's not like he's got vertical leaping ability where you're like, this dude can jump out of the gym type of thing.
You know what? I also said on the previous episode that Zion Williamson is fat. And I think him and Luka need to go on a diet together and get in the gym together and come back in peak condition next year.
Yeah, well, I mean, but I think that's every young kid coming in because they've spent their life eating burgers, fries, and fried chicken.
Not Amari Stoudemire. He came from high school, fit as a fiddle.
Yeah, but that is the exception. Most of these kids, I've heard several stories of, I had to cut out the late night Skittles or Starbursts or whatnot that I was just piling into my body, and I did change my diet. And once they get that all dialed in, is I think when they make that next leap, Luka's gotten a little bit better. I think he'll get even more, better on top of that with his diet and his exercising and whatnot. Zion definitely needs to streamline his body a little bit if he wants to maintain being able to play an 82-game season. But who knows?
God dang, Zion, I wish he was in the playoffs because just those preseason games, they were kind of fun. I mean, he doesn't do much, but then next thing you know, you just look up and he's like catching a lob from half court, just like above everybody, or it's crazy. Or grabbing there's 4 people that you see him come up and grab the reel in the middle of everybody and then put it back.
It's straight nuts. Rip it out of somebody's hands. I've seen him do that. Like a defender comes down with the rebound and he just launches those big paws in there and grabs it and tears it out of their hands. And in no way does it look like a foul. It just looks like he's straight overpowering the other person. You're like, wow, this dude is. And then, then he's injured and he's out for 12 games. That's going to be hopefully not his future. I don't want to have to do this every year of like, oh, Zion played 40 games. Like, motherfucker. All right. So you think next game closes it out? We're done.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it will be a better game than this last one for sure. But yeah, I think so. I think Paul George found a shot a little bit. I think Kawhi is going to stay on, he's Mr. Discipline. He's going to stay on everybody, keep their edge there. Yeah. What's his name? Landry Shamet. Yeah, he's where'd he come from? He's great. I love him.
He came from Philly. That was hey, we'll give you tons of draft picks and assets to get Tobias Harris and then wildly overpay Tobias Harris. Thank you very much. You got Shamet in that deal. And he was good for you last season, too, on that, almost like the We Believe Warriors. It was like the We Believe Clippers when you came back on Golden State in the first round by that, historic point differential. And that team was just a collection of interesting parts. And now they're also around, it's with Kawhi and PG, Marcus Morris.
Zubac's been doing, I am rejuvenated my love for this team. Like these players who, maybe a year ago, I was like, some of these, or even when they're picking some of them up, I'm like even Zubac, I'm like, hey, he's all right, but it's like, geez, like you can find better. And then, but they're coming together, and I love it.
Yeah, but Zubac, you got for nothing. The Lakers gave you guys him for, nothing.
They just got rid of him. Yeah,
yeah, it didn't make any sense. It's like, why wouldn't you hold on to this guy? He's cheap, he's young, he can play the game, like especially in the minutes that you need him to play. But yeah, whatever. That's neither here nor there. I mean, there's no use in crying over spilled milk, Lakers fans.
It's going to be a good matchup, I think. I think it's going to be a good matchup with the Lakers.
We'll see if we'll see if both teams get there. I still think everybody thinks that they're the prohibitive favorites to make the Western Conference Finals. And I still believe deep down in my heart that the Clippers are the odds on favorite to win the West and win, the overall championship.
Really?
You got the depth.
Yeah.
Flat out.
But AD is he's amazing.
For sure. Him and LeBron, they're both.
See, but I think Kawhi can guard LeBron. Like I think that LeBron's, unfortunately, he's gotten older, he's slower, he's this, he's that. But I think AD is the one who you're gonna see him this playoff, especially when it comes to like Western Conference Finals or the NBA Finals. You're gonna see him ascend, on that team, and the next year's gonna be his team.
Well, I think that's what LeBron is banking on because he knows he can't do it without him. So he is more than happy to defer, and I'm sure get him in Finals MVP if that's what it takes to win another championship to help cement his legacy. But after that, it's like you go down the line. Just like with Portland, I like the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and potentially 6th options for the Clippers much more than I like for the Lakers. And then even with the Clippers, you can go further beyond that. Outside of Kuzma, there's not a seemingly reliable threat on the Lakers. Now, Danny Green finally had a good game. Hey, good for Danny Green, but he is, the bubble, everybody was talking about thus far, this is a shooter's gym. It's great. You don't have the distractions. You can just key in straight on. The depth perception is perfect. And Danny Green has not been hitting shots until this last game where, he gets dragged about as bad as Chris Webber and Reggie Miller do during the games. So he had a good, but will you get that Danny Green night in, night out? I have zero. No one has any clue at this point outside of Danny Green.
Kuzma's been shooting a lot better. I mean, this whole season, but in the bubble also than say last season. Or he's just been shooting a lot better than I expect them to. And maybe that's the court. I don't know, but
yeah, I'm not sure. But all right, let's
I
move on
still
to.
can't believe. Well, I still can't believe that J.R. Smith is on the Lakers, and then like they're playing against Carmelo. I'm just like looking like, why didn't LeBron bring Carmelo? Like he's. I think he would be a better fit, and they're best friends.
Yeah.
The only thing I think is like, oh, maybe they needed somebody more of a guard, less of a forward. I don't know, but I'm like, Carmelo should have been on that team and could have got a championship, maybe.
Yeah, or perhaps they were just looking at if we're going to spend that money there, we need somebody that can play some defense, and Carmelo can't play any defense. So, that's Portland's. It's a number of teams' Achilles heel. Denver, Dallas, Portland, like these teams that just cannot play any defense. I mean, it's got when Donovan Mitchell can hang 50 on you twice in a series. I legitimately think you should change your name next season to the Denver Nuggets because the D is gone.
Yeah, no D.
The D is fucking gone. But in that series, so let's switch over to that. Last night, I mean, it was a great game back and forth. The Nuggets did not reclaim the lead. They had it early on in the first, second and third. Utah led the whole time. Goes into the fourth. Finally, the Nuggets get it back, and they maintain to the end. And Jamal Murray, just 50-point game, now a 40-point game. The first player since Jordan to do it. And just, I mean, he was sick. Late in game, it was get me the ball, I will get us a bucket. And that is exactly the type of leap that they were hoping for from him this season. Do you think they've got a shot to actually eventually end up taking this? Because right now, Utah's got the lead.
Oh, the series, I thought you were about to say the playoffs. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, no, the series is 3-2 Utah right now.
Yeah, I think so. But I don't know. It's just my bias of Utah from my entire life. Growing up watching them I just have never liked them or given them the benefit of the doubt or thought that they would ever can like win when it comes to playoffs and championship. And when they do, I'm just like, why are they winning? That doesn't make sense. Like I don't. And so, but yeah, I think they can. Denver just seems I don't know, they're a little more energetic about it,
Right now, yes. I mean, coming into this, like, forecasting the series, I had Mateen on just doing a little preview of all these matchups and whatnot. And I didn't see how Utah had a shot in hell if Bogdanovich is going to be out. It's like that guy helped so much with their spacing and the extra shooting. And the Mike Conley's year, it's not been a good Mike Conley year. But then Fred VanVleet's this, goes, leaves, has a kid, comes back, and now he's back to being Mike Conley again all of a sudden. I wonder if this is going to be the VanVleet bump where just boom, I dialed in because I got this new baby type of thing. And Utah has been, I mean, playing well. Donovan Mitchell has been playing phenomenally, but it's still a question of, okay, you basically need Donovan to put up 40 to have a legitimate shot, apparently. And
yeah, but he seems unguardable at points. He really does seem well, at least against Denver, he seems completely unguardable. Like he's too fast for them. He shoots too, and he just kind of like does what he wants. The problem is, they just aren't stopping Denver. Also, I guess as a team.
Yeah, which is weird because Utah's got a stout defense.
Yeah.
Gobert stops people from even attempting drives to the layup, evidenced by like the first couple games in this series. Denver did not want to go inside, and Jokic was getting manhandled by Gobert. I don't know if losing that weight has helped Jokic, at least in the early part of the series, but they've turned it around. I mean, Jokic started off hot as can be last night and ended the game really well overall, but it was the Jamal Murray show. This is turning into a much better series than I was anticipating.
Yeah, it's been fun. That's actually been fun, which I never usually associate fun with Utah Jazz, but it has been fun to watch for sure.
Well, I mean, this isn't a Jerry Sloan team. You know what I mean? They've moved on. It's Quinn Snyder's a different coach. He's got a different system. I was just, losing Bogdanovich is like, okay, now you're going to be relying on Jordan Clarkson quite a bit to make extra points. But then if Conley can bump back up, suddenly this thing is, super interesting. And Michael Porter Jr. coming into the playoffs.
Michael Porter Jr. is, him and Clarkson too. Both, it's like, wow, like, I don't know. It's just, it's not something I really recognized. And then or at least when Clarkson was on the Lakers, it's like, I didn't he seems like a different player now.
Yeah, he was more of, I don't know, I'm going to shoot every time I touch the basketball. And now he seems more like Lou Will of, yeah, I'm going to shoot, but I'm going to try and hunt out the best shot that I can get and find my spots. And he's got tons of them. There have been numerous plays where you watch him and he just kind of keeps the ball for 18 seconds as he dribbles around to find the weakness in the defense and then makes a shot. And Utah's happy to have him do it, especially on the second unit, because they don't have really much other shooting to surround him with. But Porter Jr., coming into the playoffs, it's like the two-man game with him and Jokic. This guy, wow, this is crazy that this is his first full season. He is awesome. And then, like, to start the game last night, he fell down, just straight up fell down. Didn't get knocked down, was just like running and stumbled. And he looked like a grown toddler at times. Just like, how can you have this supreme athleticism on 2 plays and then have this on the 3rd play? Like, it didn't make any sense, but he has been shown to, he's been up and down in this series. He'll get hot and make a bunch of, shots and then go cold and turn the ball over. Like he had one on the baseline where he was driving, lost his balance, started to fall down and tried to wing it along the baseline to a corner shooter and hit the back of the backboard. And you're like, dude, that's some shit that me and all the old guys that we play with on Saturday pull off, Yeah. It's unathletic. What you're trying to give Marcus Morris the benefit of the doubt type of athleticism that doesn't exist in the NBA type of bullshit.
Maybe it does. See,
for a rookie, yes, 10-year vet, I'm not buying it. I'm not. You've proven that you can play in this league consistently. You're better than that excuse, at least. All right. So what do you think happens in the next game? I mean, they're gonna go tomorrow at 1 p.m. our time.
I think Utah is gonna. I mean, Donovan Mitchell, he's just been unstoppable, and I think, and then sometimes he's been out there with Clarkson even, and now he has that corner 3-pointer to pass it to. And I think they're gonna win just because they seem, I've only watched 2 of the games, but when I watch them, like, wow, these Utah, I'm like, who are these guys? They look pretty fresh.
I'm hoping it goes 7 just because it's been a good back and forth between the two of them. They seem pretty evenly stacked, which makes for good television as opposed to, a blowout last night, and very well could be not for them, but a blowout in the Clippers game. Very well could end up being a blowout in the final one if Kristaps isn't back or isn't at 100 and Luke is not at 100. Whereas this one, it's nice. It's 2 seemingly even teams, so they could go 7. I'd like to see it go 7. And I'm forced to pick. I'm going to stick with my original and say Denver, but right now Utah has the lead, but they've looked the more consistent and level-headed.
I think Utah is going to win the next, and then that's pretty much, that'll be it.
Yeah, Utah wins the next one, then they win the series 4-2, and then this bad boy is done.
Yeah.
But all right, well, let's move on to. So we have the first of the next round tomorrow night between the Raptors and the Celtics. And right now, the Raptors and the Celtics players apparently met last night in their hotel, and they're flirting with boycotting this game and potentially another game. Do you actually think that'll happen?
I don't think it'll happen just because, well, this is funny because when George Floyd murder happened, I thought people like LeBron, these players should be, and not just based on the police brutality, but anything that's socially very questionable or once that you just realize, okay, this is ridiculous and someone needs to step up and say something, that money talks, right? So yeah. I had thought when that happened that people like LeBron or say a Kobe Bryant type of player, or I don't know what that'd be in football, but say, hey, look, I am not going to play in these cities that are just unjust, period, to minorities or whatever is going on. And therefore, I'm not going to bring money to your city. Your tickets will go down. I'm not going to get paid in that city. So therefore, I'm not going to pay tax in that, because the players I know in the NBA, they have to pay tax in every single city they get paid in, they play in. And that will change. I think that will definitely change, and even get people that want to be involved because you're affecting them, especially when it comes to football, because the football fans are very diverse, much more than the NBA. But that would get people involved and questioning and looking into this stuff that might be trying to ignore it, as well as policymakers and whatnot. But because this is just all in one place at the same time, I don't see that being as effective. As a matter of fact, I don't see it being effective at all. I think the people who are going to notice, who are going to care, are the ones who are already on your side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so people who aren't going to, they're not going to give a shit, and they're just going to think that you're being, I don't know, elite or elitist or babies because like, hey, we're paying this much money, blah blah. You're lucky even playing sports. Look at college football. Look at the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, and then also that these are not the marquee matchups. It's not the Lakers and the Clippers. It's not, you know, as much as I love Jason Tatum, he's not LeBron James yet. You know?
Yeah, you do have the name of Boston.
Yeah.
So that helps. You know, Toronto has won a championship, so it's raised the public profile of the team as a whole. But, you know, Kyle Lowry technically would be their most well-known star, maybe Pascal, but Kyle's been around longer.
Toronto's a Canadian city.
Yeah.
Boston, as racist as it's been known to be, they're not been involved in the police brutality or protests. Nothing's going on there. So it's too disconnected is all, you know? Like maybe it's the Timberwolves or someone like that. And it's like, oh, okay, wow.
I'll be interested to see if it happens. It doesn't really seem like it will, just because there's so much momentum with the schedule of every other day. And you would need, if they're going to boycott the first game, then you would need other teams to basically back your play in order for it to be effective. Whereas if all the other remaining playoff teams play their next game and you're the only one, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. A, and B, it's basically just going to force you back into the situation. So perhaps it just changes. I mean, the dialogue in the post-game pressers and all that stuff
is doing more than or as much. So might as well do that.
It's keeping the conversation where the players wanted to, like the Doc Rivers one from last night is getting passed around because it's so heartfelt and poignant. And you may not agree with everything he's saying, which to me and most people would be kind of baffling because all he's saying is, treat us with respect. But those do get passed around and whatnot, and their message is still getting out. Like the reason that Avery Bradley sat out, or part of the reason, was they didn't want to shift the dialogue and discussion away from the issues at hand. And they've done a good job of, okay, if these are the issues you want to have discussed, then we can continue doing that by having the slogans on the jerseys, Black Lives Matter on the court. The players lobbied for, and they got the concessions from the league. And I don't think the league put up much of a fight because they were willing to let the players express themselves, especially after the whole China fiasco at the beginning of the season, which anytime someone points out LeBron, standing up for the rights of citizens in this country and be like, oh, it's all well and good so long as you're not Chinese. And it stings as an NBA fan because that individual is not wrong.
No, not at all.
I have no defense. Like my wife brought it up once she read an article about it, and she's like, oh, wow, that really sucks because it kind of undercuts some of the argument, coming from those that didn't stand up. And I'm like, yeah, it does. It really does. The only thing you could hide behind is that's not my country. So it's not my problem. And
the whole, Rockets kind of conceded to them, like when they were trying to boycott the Rockets because I mean, it's a huge market over there.
Yeah.
That the NBA just kind of like, oh, no, we're sorry kind of thing to China versus backing up the Rockets, like, no, screw you. You're not our dictator, But
the Rockets alone lost, I think it was $20 million in sponsorships from Chinese companies.
Who cares? Like, if everyone just left China alone, then the level would go down as far as the money that you earn.
Yes.
So no one would need that extra 20 million because no one's getting the extra 20 million, and then no one would need China.
Yeah, true. But now everybody has that money, and they don't want to lose that money.
It's ridiculous. South Park, right around that time, did a great episode about the China money, and it's really funny. And it's just like, it's so ridiculous how every market of every business is after the China money, Chinese money.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those of they should have the freedom of speech, and you're in essence kind of censoring, but not censoring, but censoring. Daryl Morey and others have to publicly say, oh, I apologize. I shouldn't have put my political beliefs ahead of the teams or whatnot. It is ridiculous because what they're doing is this Orwellian state where they control the entire lives.
Their state, because it's going into American companies and American employees now. It's insane. They're literally censoring our free speech across the world because we want their money.
Exactly. Because we don't want to lose that market, which is technically the
billion people.
largest single market in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an impossible thing to, you either basically play by their rules or you stand up for the morals that you say that you believe in. And now all these teams and players are kind of torn between I go over and do demos in China and I sell a shitload of sneakers and merch in China and I make tens of millions of dollars every year from China personally.
And then if I get really bad injury, I'm going to eventually go play over in China.
Exactly. But I mean, like D Rose, his contract with Adidas is still obscene, but last I saw, his sneakers still sell well in China and he's still a beloved figure there. So it's not a complete disaster for Adidas because they still have all the sneaker sales there. It's shit like that where you have to factor in this huge international market, and then it forces them to basically contradict themselves and be hypocrites because they feel they have no other choice.
But it's so, because see, it's like you can say, hey, look, I don't live there. I don't know what they're doing over there. They can, like, you can say, you cannot be mad at them censoring their own people. It's their country. They do what they want. But it's when they start to censor us, that's what's, I can't get behind. It's like, how are you letting, and besides, if they're such a authoritative state, we can say what we want over here and they can just ban it, just block our tweets from getting to your people. You know what I mean?
Well, they do.
Let us say, well, then let us say what we want about you when we're in our own country, Yeah.
Oh, I just, when it came down, eventually they're like, all right, you want to take that stance, then we'll ban your games from being played over here. And then the NBA was going to lose somewhere in the ballpark of $200 million per year in
That's
general
not
revenue.
that much for when it comes to NBA.
No, but it would affect the overall CBA.
Yes, every single person goes.
Yeah, exactly. The trickle down effect to all the players and whatnot. So Daryl Morey's tweet, while you and I and most people agree with it, it has ramifications eventually beyond just that simple tweet. I mean, had that tweet come from, say, the Kings, say, any small market team that is not blowing up Orlando,
or that didn't have the most popular Chinese player of all time on their team,
have the biggest or one of the biggest footholds in China, and basically something that the basketball fans there identify with that team because Yao Ming played for them. Had it come from, honestly, of the 30 teams, probably 18 other teams, like if Memphis put this out, nothing. No one gives a shit.
There's other markets. Go to India. There's 1 billion people there too.
They're working on it. The first Indian players made the G League. And they're trying to get Indian players in because that's the next biggest market. So if they got India in tomorrow and India paid as well as China did, perhaps they would just go, all right, we support Hong Kong and the protesters. We don't need your money anymore. But at that point, my guess is they'd be just greedy and be like, well, here's another 200 million on top of the 200 million we're getting from China. So let's keep this going. Yeah. But yeah, that's neither here nor there in regards to the NBA playoffs. All right, so you like Utah to close out. I'm gonna stick with Denver, even though they need to score way more than they give up, which they're going to give up, unfortunately. But kudos with that one.
Lakers, Clippers, Utah. What's the other one?
Well, we got Orlando and the Bucks. It's obviously the Bucks is going to close that out today.
Yeah.
That starts.
Which people was it? Charles Barkley, who was like betting against the Bucks, like because of one game, like, oh, they're gonna lose.
Was it Barkley? That is crazy. Look, Orlando beat Toronto in Game 1 of last year. Toronto won the championship. So when people were tweeting out and be like, "What does this mean?" It means nothing. Have you watched Orlando this year? It means nothing. And my apologies to Orlando fans. I know that there are a few that watch this show. Your team is flawed. So be thankful you got that first game win. You got crushed in the last one. You'll more than likely get curb stomped in today's game, and that series is over. So you got one. You got a gentleman's sweep. You didn't get fully swept. Hey, it's better than the Pacers. It's better than Pacers who just fired their coach after they technically extended him. Pacers. You know what I love? So they're talking about potentially targeting D'Antoni. Do you see who the Nets are talking about targeting?
Oh, man. Who?
They're number one.
Oh wait. what's his name from San Antonio?
Yeah, Popovich.
Popovich.
Is a good one. Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I don't think he'll ever do it, but I think he could turn that. He could.
Oh yeah.
He can move a couple pieces, and it would be, wow, it'd be pretty amazing.
And why not? Why not shoot for the stars? Make a run at him. What would it take, Pop, for you to leave San Antonio? Because he's been flirting with retirement anyway, and perhaps he hands off to Becky Hammond and she takes over, or somebody else on his staff. Because it's not like the Spurs have any real championship hopes over the next 2 to 3 years, unless something drastic changes. They get a hell of a free agent. It's possible. You still have Pop, but can you
imagine Pop with Kevin Durant? Kevin Durant.
Durant?
Kevin Durant.
Durant loves him, just like it seems like every superstar loves him. And I think, Pop was staying around because he wanted to coach this Olympics. And that's going to be next year. So he's going to be around for at least another couple of years. Who knows how long? But he's intimated he wanted to retire when Tim Duncan retired, but he thought he had Kawhi there and they could maybe potentially get a few more championships under their belt. But it doesn't seem like he's long for this coaching world. So why not? I don't know. Maybe there is a little bit of the I only coached for one team kind of mystique of Kobe only played for the Lakers, Dirk only played for the Mavs, I only coached for the Spurs.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
he would be like the Red Auerbach of being. He would be the Spurs.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, he would turn into Phil Jackson, and a lot of people hate Phil Jackson because he's like, you just went where the talent was, and there's something to be said for being able to manage that talent, though, because there were others that tried and didn't get anywhere near the results he did. So ultimately, number of championships seems genuine because he did it so consistently. All right, so we have the other game. I think the most intriguing game today is Oklahoma City versus Houston, which Houston rolled out 2-0 lead, and then Oklahoma City said, fuck that. We're not
Chris Paul said, fuck that.
Yeah. They've gotten solid production overall. What's his kid? I'm going to look it up. There's the kid that's been defending Harden has done an excellent job. What is it? Yeah, Lugens Dort, who I did not know all that well, and now I have watched him in 2 games pretty steadily, and he's done a good job on the best ISO player in the game right now. And it's 2-2. I thought OKC had a genuine shot. So did my team when we were talking about it, of winning this in 7. Just because with Westbrook out, Westbrook is going to try it out tonight and see if he is a go. That's a game time decision at this point. Who knows?
Westbrook is not a player who can play like injured. He plays too hard.
It's 100% or it's nothing.
Yeah.
Which is the reason you love Westbrook or you hate him. He's a polarizing character, but it's 100% or it's nothing, but it's 2-2 right now. Who do you like in essence at this point?
Houston. I mean, as much as I love Chris Paul, as much as he is a vegan now, I don't know if that's going to give him the edge. I mean, Gillis Alexander's baller. Like, there's people who've been playing. They're a great team, but they're kind of like my Clippers for half of my life. It was that they're a good team that just don't have enough to do anything with. And that's just it. And Chris Paul is great. And also, if it went to 7 games, who's know if Chris Paul didn't get hurt again? Or won't get hurt.
That's true.
He's playing so much, play hard. He's so old. He's always getting hurt. I bet he'd pull a hammy or something.
I mean, the case that you could make for Oklahoma City is, all right, so the Rockets are going to shoot 53s minimum.
Yes, so they might go get cold. But I don't think they're going to get cold for that many games. Like, they're not going to be
3
they
more
might
games?
get cold every other game, not every game. Yeah.
Okay, well, but if they don't get cold, so they get murdered on the boards. So they need to win the turnovers and personal fouls kind of difference. And if they because they're willing to concede the boards, which is what they did when they got rid of Capella and they made PJ Tucker their starting center, just like, all right, we're never going to win that. And we're also not going to win, in the restricted area because we don't have that much to control the paint outside of Covington. There's not a tremendous amount of shot blockers on that team, although Harden is pretty adept at getting steals. But that aside, So you need to win the turnover battle and the foul battles, and you're going to lose the rebounds. You need to make 36 to 38% on shooting volume 53s, and you'll win these games. If they shoot 30% or 32%, lose the rebounds, and it's somewhere like a wash on turnovers, I don't see how they have a shot. Like, it's a very narrow window that they can do this, but they can do it. I mean, I think they're the odds-on favorite to win.
Yeah, the lower the scoring the game is, the more likely Oklahoma's going to win, basically. And so if they can if it's a 100-point game, OKC will win. But if it's 120, they're going to lose by 20 points.
I love it. It's the perfect matchup of OKC. It shoots more mid-range shots than anybody else in the league, I believe. I think they'd probably fight it out with the Spurs for number 1 overall, but I think it's OKC, and Houston is more than happy to give up as many mid-range shots as you want to shoot. So to your point, these lower scorings, like OKC could feast on 15 to 18 feet, just unabated. Just go ahead, shoot. We'll give that to you all day long. It really comes down to if we need to shoot threes, then all of a sudden, hey, Schroeder and Shai Gilgeous and Chris Paul, and we need you to start making threes on the level that that Harden can, and Gordon, if he can maintain his normal Gordon level, although he's been pretty awful so far this season, or not the season, but the series. I think he's had 1 good game and 3 bad ones, although Harden hasn't been exactly percentage-wise lighting it up either. Without Westbrook, though, so if Harden has a bad game, now you're relying on Austin Rivers, which, as a Clippers fan, I've watched a lot of Clippers games. You're a fan. I wouldn't trust that for
not in the
fucking
playoffs,
anything.
that's for sure.
Yeah. Ben McLemore, okay, it's a nice story, but I've watched a lot of Ben McLemore be mediocre. Daniel House, like, okay. So you're asking a lot of guys that me as a basketball fan, I wouldn't trust if I have championship aspirations.
No. I mean, you're lucky just to put him in as a defensive stopper for like 2 minutes, but that's it. Like, that's what they're good at in the playoffs, is like put him in to get some energy and defense for a little bit, and that's it, But
yeah,
you're not
they got a lot of question marks down their roster, which is like, I don't know what the fuck I'm getting from him tonight. You hope for the best.
A couple turnovers for sure, and then
Whereas OKC, it's just like, I pretty much precisely know when I'm going to get it from Gallinari and Shai Gilgeous and Schroeder and Steven Adams and Chris Paul. Like that, they all have well-defined, stat lines to me at the end of the game. I can pretty much guess as to what they're going to be. Whereas Houston, just like, I don't know. Outside of Harden, I'm not sure who's going to show up tonight. So I'm still going to stick with OKC in 7. I'm not going to back off of that, but Houston is the favorite. I mean,
Houston's going. Although Houston, they can shoot themselves in the foot. They are the most underachieving team, I think, in the last 5 years, probably.
Well, okay. So what happens if they get drummed out in the first round? Their best chip asset at that point, and their only real one, is James Harden.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the last every year for the last 5 to 8 years has been just underachieving. Just like, oh wow, look at this, nothing. Look at this, nothing. Look at this talent, nothing.
What do you do if you're Daryl Morey, because you don't have the cap space to really do all that much? You've traded away a bunch of different draft picks. So do you run this back as the team is currently constructed and try and pick up some mid-levels, or do you ship out? Like, I don't think anybody's touching Westbrook.
Yeah.
Covington is a good asset, so you want to hold on to him. And you don't want to trade Harden, but I don't know what options you have at that point.
I mean, depending on what you can get for Harden, I think that's the best. He's your best player, but also makes him your best asset to get rid of.
He is. I can't imagine they'll ever do it. There's no way Tillman Fertitta signs off on that, because he still has tickets to sell, and all. Is Westbrook going to be enough of the face of the franchise? Because Harden. They've also rallied around Harden, much like Laker fans did around Kobe when the league turned on Kobe.
Oh, yeah.
And it just turned this massive army, because there's a subset of Laker fans that are Kobe fans first.
Mm-hmm.
So that it seems as though Houston has the same thing of, there are Houston fans, but then there are also Harden fans first, and then Houston kind of second. So if they got rid of him, it's like, I don't even know what kind of mutiny from that fan base that they would have to suffer. It'd be huge.
Their players are they don't have a lot of young anything on that team.
No,
like everyone's pretty old. I mean, they're not pretty old, but they're
by
pretty
NBA
seasoned.
standards.
Yeah, they're pretty seasoned. At least, I mean, and the players that are old, like are kind of young, are ones who are to have a shorter career span, anyways. Like they're people who would be out of the game by 32. Like they're 28. You know, Austin Rivers is 28. He was never going to be in the league past 32, anyways. You know, so
I mean, fuck, they've got, I want to say 3 guys who weren't even in the league. Like Jeff Green was not in the league. He's on that team.
Yeah,
I believe Ben McLemore was out of the league. He's now on that team. Like they've got 2 or 3 of those dudes.
And Jeff Green, talk about underachieving. Jeff Green, Jesus, his whole career.
His whole career is he gives you 30 and then 2 straight games of 2 points, 6 points, and then it's 18 points. And you're like, Jeff Green. And then it's 4 points, 1 point, 22. And then you're like, Jeff Green. There's no consistency to it. Yeah, I still like OKC, but we'll move on.
I mean, Clint, they could use Clint Capella. Could have been like they could have kept him, maybe Westbrook, and who knows, got two franchise or 2 cap salary players or 1 for sure with for a Harden trade, maybe a first round draft pick. Like they could have.
Yeah, I don't know. By pulling Capella out, it frees up the lane, so then Westbrook can run in there and it collapses the defense. And now he kicks out and Harden is wide open. Also, it's the same thing for Harden. Frees up all the driving lanes. He can run in and then kick out. So it's just.
I'm saying when you're going to rebuild,
Tucker.
Yeah, and he's the worst.
Like he'll hit a corner 3 better than anybody in the league, but he's not going to defensively stop all that many. I mean, he'll try. It's not like he's lazy or anything, but he's also 6'7", and he's going to have to take on. If they advance beyond this, you're telling me he can put up a fight against AD and Jokic and Gobert, and it's just there's a murderer's row of centers that he's going to have to stop, and it's in the playoffs. It's like that shit is not happening.
And he's 35.
Yeah, and he's old.
6'7" and 35 years old.
Well, okay, so if the game tomorrow is not boycotted, we do have the start of the semis in the East, Boston and Toronto. Now, I've said whoever wins this, to me, wins the East.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And it's tough to choose, so I'm going to go ahead and put the onus on you first. Who do you like in this series?
I love Boston. I love Tatum. I love Boston, but they just still seem like they're not there yet. They still seem like a year away. It's been weird. They've been seeming like a year away for 3 years now.
Yeah. Since Tatum's rookie year when they almost beat the Cavs, next year.
And then Tatum dunked on LeBron.
Yeah. And you're like, all right, Kyrie's gone next year. And then now Hayward is out with the grade 3 sprain. And then even as soon as he's healthy from that, it's his wife is expecting and he's going to be gone for that. So Hayward could ostensibly be out for 5 weeks or 4.5 at this point. So you're playing without Hayward.
And then in playoffs, it's always about defense. And then Siakam, I just love Siakam. I love his defense. I love his play. I love him as a player. He's been doing good. He's been killing it, I think. Just the non-tangibles, But and they won. They're coming off a championship team or a championship game. They have the best GM in the league. I mean, I'm going to go Boston.
Okay.
After all that said.
So both teams have the same problem in essence to me of, in a playoff series, late in the game, you need to have one dude you can just dump the ball to, get me a bucket. And all the really, truly apex teams have that guy. And some of them have 2. And look at the Lakers. They have 2 guys late in game. They can get me a bucket. PG, if it's shooting woes and been up and down, you could say that about the Clippers as well. But you need it. So Toronto, can Siakam really become the true superstar that they need him to be and be that, hey, it's game 6. We need this bucket to force a game 7. Not saying that's what this is going to be. I'm saying a hypothetical situation. Just the high pressure of this doesn't even win us the series. This just keeps us alive. It's like double pressure of can you save our season with this one type of shot? can he do it? And then on the flip side, who's going to do it on the Celtics? Is it Tatum? Is it Kemba? It's one of those two that I think Tatum is their number one option in that situation.
Which he's been shooting better.
He has. He's been pretty. I mean, he is making a case of I am truly elite. And Kemba Walker's knee doesn't appear to be hurting him. They were talking about like it hadn't healed in the past 4 months, and it's a potentially arthritic situation. And perhaps it's not. I don't know. But with Hayward out, I still give a slight edge like you to Boston. It's like a 51-49 type of situation for me.
Yeah, I mean they've been climbing that hill for a couple years now, and I think Tatum's been improving every year, like in spades. Like you can see it; it's visually improving. Like wow, this has gotten so much better. He's shooting so much better. He's doing this so much better, and so I think this is their year to at least go to the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah,
it's I feel like Toronto fans be like, it's a knock on Toronto, and it's really not. I just think the way the Celtics are playing currently and as they're constructed by pulling Kyrie out and putting Kemba in, the ball moves a little bit better. Tatum's advancement and Brown, if Brown gets going, when he scores,
Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, when Jaylen Brown scores, it's either 20 or 25 points in a game. They're 13-0 this year. Wow. So if they can get him to score 20 or 25 points, so far statistically, they've been unbeatable, because then that also means that more than likely either Tatum or Kemba or Hayward had an excellent game.
Has a triple-double.
Yeah. So when you have two of those, but they have three guys, and they also have Marcus Smart, one of my favorite players in the league, just the perfect type of teammate guy, somebody I'm envious. I wish the Bulls, had, which we previously had, like a Joakim Noah, who's now on your Clippers, which adds to the rogues gallery of, if you don't like the Clippers, well, they got Bev, they got Marcus Morris, they got Joakim Noah, they got a lot of guys that people don't like. But I don't know. I give a slight edge to the Celtics. I'm happy to eat crow on that, Toronto fans.
I'm going Boston. I mean, Toronto's wasn't expected to go this far anyways,
I didn't expect them to be this good this year.
So I think and then the pressure is on Boston because they are expected to keep being better and better. So, I mean, minus the injuries, I think Boston has it because they have to prove it and everything else. Where I think Toronto's kind of all just cake and ice cream at this point.
How many games do you think it goes?
6.
6? I literally, right before I asked that, I was like, do I think it's 6 or do I think it's 7? I think this one is so evenly matched. I think this one goes 7.
If it goes 7, I think the edge goes to
Toronto.
Yeah,
but the problem is so.
I'm saying 6.
Okay. Then I just go back to that Philly series last year where Kawhi gets the quadruple bounce, but in that fourth quarter, nobody on Toronto wanted to shoot the ball except for Kawhi. So if Kawhi misses that shot, it goes to OT. Philly wins that series, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. They take that game because they have a couple guys that are more than willing to take the shot. And go back and rewatch it. Siakam is deferring when he's got open shots, and so is Lowry, and just like nobody wanted that moment except for Kawhi. So can someone step up and say, I am happy? I think Siakam will. It's just, will he be able to where are the results? Like, I need to see those.
Lowry, I think, is one of the most overrated scorers. Comes to him, putting points up.
He's had a few moments where, like, when they need a bucket, he can hit it, but I think he's good at if they're already up by a couple points and he can hit a good dagger shot. Not, we're down by 2, we need a 3.
Yeah, or come back.
Yeah. I don't know. So slight edge. I still think Boston takes it, but it should be a hell of a series. I can't wait for that one. Unfortunately, I'm going to miss game 1, which sucks, but what are you going to do? You can't make them all.
I love Tatum. Ever since that Cavs Boston series, I was like, this kid is amazing. Who is this guy? And
now that he's got the range on his shot, he just needs to get to the free throw line more. That's my only knock on Tatum. It's like, you need to start shooting. If you're going to be truly elite, you need to get to the 7 to 10 free throws a night.
Yeah. I don't know if he has that in, I'm telling you that Luka mentality, like that win at all costs, the Kawhi Leonard, like, I don't know if Tatum has that, but
we'll see.
But that's why I'm saying Luka's going to be MVP before he's 25, because he has that LeBron mentality, that Kobe. I don't know if LeBron even has it, but that just, I don't care. I'm playing and I'm better than these people. He has an attitude, which is you have to have.
All right. Well, I think we'll close it right there. Good luck to your Clippers in Game 6.
I was so disappointed with yesterday's game. The Game 4 is so good. It's so amazing.
I know.
That I was so excited. And then the Laker game was such a disappointment. I'm like, okay, well, Clippers will play tomorrow. That'll be good. And then it's like another blowout.
I know. It's been, you were expecting, because the Blazers have been in so many dramatic games in the bubble. And it's just like, and then Game 1 was excellent. It's like, this series is going to be awesome. And it's been pretty underwhelming. And yeah, just like you, I was so excited for last night's Clippers game. It's like, this is going to be a great tilt. And it was not. It was a double-digit lead for the Clippers almost the entire game.
I mean, should Dallas think about getting rid of Porzingis and bringing someone else to play with Luka?
No, I wouldn't. You got to give it more time. You got to give it more time.
He's always hurt.
He is. But you got to give it more time than this. I wouldn't yet. I wouldn't blow it up. Another season, see how next season goes. And then, kind of maybe you have to feel out the market and see what you can get for Porzingis at that point.
They should get Zion, Luka and Zion.
Yeah, but Zion can play. So far, if this season was evidence of what he can do, it's fewer seasons.
Yeah. 15 games.
Yeah, not a lot. Not a lot. And the fact that he was in some people's rookie discussion, be like, guys, he didn't even remotely play enough games to have real consideration. This is Ja Morant's. And we'll talk about who's in second place. Yeah, I know.
Oh, man. That kid is fire.
I tried to get a buddy of mine, last minute. I was like, oh, shit, you want to go to the Memphis game? Tickets were like $12. And I couldn't find it. It's happened every year. Luka's rookie year, I reached out to 10 people. Everybody's like, nah, I don't want to see the Mavs. And you're like, dude, this kid is really good. And tickets were like $16 or something. That's not going to be the case this season. I'm guessing that's a $30 or $40. It's fine. It's still cheap. I'll still go see. All right. Well, where can people find you?
Instagram at John Flanny, Flanny. I've been posting a lot of stand-up. Since there's no stand-up stuff, I've done a few live shows and had to go all the way to Utah to do them and things like that. But
oh, really?
So I just been chopping up sets and posting clips and things like that and trying to make fun.
Yeah, I don't. The Zoom shows, I don't understand why anybody does those.
It's I got a hair in my ass after I went headlined a week in Utah, and it was it was amazing. And then I kind of you know what, I see other people I know and respect doing some Zoom shows. I'm like, you know what, I'm no better than them. I should do that. So I kind of went and put on a bunch of online shows, and then they're all coming up this week and next week, and I'm just like, what the fuck did I do that for? This is terrible. I'm looking at this is terrible.
Yeah, you're just doing a monologue.
It's so bad. Yeah.
Yeah. I know tons of people that are doing it, and God bless them. I hope they enjoy it and it's fruitful for them and they get something out of it. I just, on the outside looking in, I've been asked to do a couple, and I've said thanks, but no thanks, because I just don't understand how it is going to be a worthwhile endeavor.
The worst is Instagram Live. Some people are doing it on that. So you're just basically talking to one person via a FaceTime, and then hoping people are looking. It's so weird.
Yeah, I mean, looking for any kind of outlet, I get it. I just don't understand. That one to me doesn't make sense.
But and realgoodcomedy.com. I just updated my website. It's nice and pretty.
All right, sweet. We'll hit him up at realgoodcomedy.com and at John Flanny, it's JON FLANNY, and hit him up on Instagram. And if you follow me on Twitter, I'll be tweeting out his Twitter handle after the show. Well, good luck to your Clippers.
That's right, baby.
And hopefully sometime soon we can get some shots up. Although I will be wearing a mask and ask that we both sanitize our hands before we start touching the same basketball. But beyond that, once this heat subsides,
there's plenty of basketball fun we can have being 6 feet apart.
Oh yeah, easily. It's something. But getting up shots alone, I force myself to do it for 90 minutes, and then there's a place that I do it at that has 2 full courts.
Oh, so you run back and forth.
I run, corner to corner, and I shoot a couple buckets, and then I'd run to the other. So I'm trying to get cardio, but
Yeah.
I do that and then I stop and I shoot 10 free throws. And then I go back and I do that and then I stop and shoot 10 free throws. And then I shoot from this area and do 10. It's just like
90
it's
minutes is a
good for a
long
while.
time to do that.
It is.
Wow.
Trust me, it is. It is boring as shit by like minute 50. And you're like, I still got 40 more to go. I'm trying to force myself just because I'm not getting any other exercise and it sucks. Otherwise, COVID, you would suck my dick. All right. Well, any parting shots before you want to get out of here?
Luka Zion going to diet.
There you go. You can follow me anywhere at Matt Knows. Make sure to subscribe to the show on whatever feed you, if it's on YouTube or on Apple, Spotify, whatever the case is. I thoroughly appreciate it. And that is it for today's Dropping Dimes here on my channel. And we will see you guys this Friday. Adios.